Okay, we are recording now. We are in business this time, Saymore, for sure.
Oh man, thanks, man. I really appreciate it because the conversation that we're having is a great conversation. This information are valuable information to young people out there. Because, like I said last time, I'm always eager and I have a heart to reach out to young people out there. I'm targeting young people out there because those are the generation to come. You know what I mean? Um, if we can prepare those young people, those young boys and young girls, those are the fathers of tomorrow. Start with a general conversation. Your book, Explain Yourself. What made you decide to use the word explain yourself?
Good question. I mean, I just thought of a catchy title. I realized that the word explain has the letters A, I in it. And,
Right.
there we go. I just had to use the word explain, make that bold, master the art of explanation in the age of AI. It was just a super catchy title, which really, the book is about how to explain anything to anyone in a
Right.
way that the brain learns, grounded in
Right.
cognitive science. And I've also got some tips in there about how to use AI effectively and how to avoid using it ineffectively. So yeah,
Right.
really, it was just a nice little play on words.
With this book, for sure, I do believe this book is a powerful book to every young people out there. And from my understanding, from what I read in your book, that it really shows your background. As you said, you used to be a teacher, right? So this actually shows your past and what you have learned, the world of teaching and all that, and how people explain things. With your experience as a teacher before, can can you maybe give a little bit of an advice how things used to be done back then and what you're seeing today? How can you explain that? Is there any changes right now about how people explain things, the way you used to explain things back then and how you're seeing things being done right now? How can you explain that?
Well, I can tell you how I explain things differently now. Definitely when I was back in the classroom, particularly as a physics teacher, I was so tempted to start with the most broad, abstract, general rule. I'd say, Faraday's laws govern how electromagnetic induction relates to the velocity of a charged or a conductor moving through an electric magnetic field or something like that. Some really abstract statements.
Right.
Whereas
Right.
now, I'd start with examples. I'd say, here's a light bulb. It's off at the moment. If I connect it to a wire, no battery. But if I move a magnet through it, it lights up. What's
Right.
going on? How is a magnet creating a current? I'd start with the example before then moving to the more general rule or theory. I'd also start with some kind of headache before providing the aspirin. I'd give some idea of, there's something mysterious, some kind of problem here before offering
Right.
the solution. So I think, some kind of concrete example first before that more general rule.
There's always a conversation in the communities about teacher and the students. Most students, they would say teacher don't really explain things properly. Why do you think there's a misunderstanding? Do you think teachers, they do take their job seriously as to have a heart to make sure that students pass or understand what they talk about, or teachers, they just do their job as long as they give the information out there? And where is the misunderstanding? Because we are in a world right now, in a generation whereby the youth or children, a teacher cannot beat a child, right? But back in days, I mean, we used to be beaten a lot, bro. Like, if a teacher asks a question and then you can't answer, he will force you to think, you know what I mean? But right now, in this generation, things are different. As for me, as I grew up in a village, right? Because I know how we used to be trained back then. We used to be trained to think deep, you know. And this generation of rights and all that, what could be your advice to a young person or young boy who's who live in a hood or maybe in a location or in a village to how important is education for them, and how can you explain to them that teacher is there to really pass the information? How can they really see the importance of teacher? Can you maybe give explanation about that?
It's a great question. I think, well, most teachers don't get paid that much, so they're not necessarily doing it for the money. They're doing it for some other reason. That's one good way of thinking about it. They're doing it because they care. That's a common misconception. Like, when you're a kid in school, you often think the teacher's out to get you, or they're getting me to do stuff. But in my experience, almost all teachers are doing it because they care. They want to do some good. So
Right.
if we can get a good relationship between a teacher and a student, then it's going to be beneficial for both parties.
I feel like it's a passion of people who have a passion to work with their children, passion to help other people out there. Students, they really misunderstand that why teachers go to schools every day. They think it probably teacher do it because it's their jobs. But at the end of the day, I think it's a passion. It's people who have a heart to help and, they love to work with their children. Okay. So in this world of evolving, how can you say to a young person who's in college or university or a young man who's trying to start a business or maybe an upcoming author who's writing a book, what could be your advice in terms of what can they expect and how can you be motivated to them?
So in the sort of evolving digital age, how can a budding author navigate their message? Oh, well, yeah, I suppose I've got recent experience of that. I think finding your own voice and not leaning on things like AI, ChatGPT, because they're too easy, or because they are easy. Doing that, you lose that edge, that authenticity. You see it so much. I see it so much on like social media or like LinkedIn. People posting it's just so obviously written by AI. And it's just a load of fluff. And I've even found it in my own writing when I've tried to, when I've been a little bit lazy and I've been like, let's see if I can get maybe ChatGPT to pad this out for me. I come back and read it later and it's just got no edge to it. It's all style, no substance. It can sound kind of punchy, but there's nothing really there. Whereas if I go back and read drafts that I maybe just wrote in one go, I remember when I was writing a lot of my book on the plane, actually, just wrote it, just got it out in one go. It was maybe a little bit verbose in places, a little bit rough around the edges, but there was something there. There was substance, even if it lacked a little bit of style.
When and how did you start your book? And what made you say that I as a James Moore, I want to write a book about master the art of explaining in the age of AI? When did you make that decision and how? Because people would want to know, like especially young people out there. I've met a young girl at the coffee shop a while ago. She's telling me about she write book online in whatever, how she said there's a free app out there. I told her, like, look, I don't really understand how it works and I don't trust that at all. But when did James Moore made a decision, say, I want to write a book, and how and why did you choose to write this book? Because a young person out there may be having an idea of their story or whatever they're learning, they feel like they want to do it. Did it take you like maybe 2 weeks or 3 months or a year? How did that happen for you?
I think I came up with the idea for the title first. Just, as I said, explain yourself with the AI, art of explanation in the age of AI. Just felt like a good title. And I know a lot about explaining. That's been my, line of work for a while. I know a lot about how to explain things well.
Right.
And I think I came up with the idea for the title maybe like December kind of time last year. I think I may have even come up with it when I was doing this 10-day silent meditation retreat. But then I worked on it for a while. And then me and my fiance had a weekend away at this beautiful cabin, like in wilderness on the garden route overlooking this lake, glorious. And it was supposed to be like a bit of a romantic getaway, but I ended up spending a fair bit of time writing because it was also just like an amazing environment for writing. And I just went for it. And then by the time I started writing to finishing, it was about 6 weeks. It was really quick. I mean, it's a short book. And I already had like a really quite solid idea of what I wanted to write. That I kind of I think sketched out on a flight from London to Cape Town, actually. And then, when I returned to the UK and came back during May on that return flight from, coming back to Cape Town, I did so much writing. I was on the flight for 11 hours and I think I wrote for most of it.
Chapter 2, where you say the road to explanation, there's a diagram where it says show, tell. And when I'm on the left side where it says show, there is an arrow going down, it says show, examples, story, image. When you were creating this diagram of, say, the road to explanation, what went in your mind? What was in your mind? And what really made you decide to make this kind of diagram in a book to try to make everybody understand? What was the idea behind this whole thing?
It's a great question because I really value the kind of roadmap approach to helping people learn. And I talk about the book, or in the book I say show, don't tell, wherever possible. Give examples rather than abstract definitions, rather than saying something is aerodynamic if its shape allows it to move through air with minimal resistance or turbulence. Just show me the example of a jet plane, a Falcon diving prey, an F1 car. They're aerodynamic because their shape allows them to get through the air. Let me learn through examples. And so I've split the book into show and tell. Sometimes you can't find the perfect example, so then you need to tell a bit more explicitly. But if possible, show through examples, or show through a story, or show through a great image.
Right.
And that's what I tried to do with this. The image that you're talking about, which I'll. Let's see if I can find it in the book as well to refer to.
Chapter.
Yeah, here it is. It's this is right.
Right. Yeah, it's not showing, but probably maybe because of the settings
that blurring out. Yeah. But so I've split it into show and don't tell. Show, don't tell.
Right.
And if you're going to tell, there are three lenses that you can do that through. You can consider the structure of your explanation, starting with concrete examples, moving towards more abstract definitions, providing some kind of headache, creating a problem that your audience then wants to solve. They want the aspirin for that.
Right.
Then you also want to think about the detail of your argument.
Right.
The detail of your explanation.
Okay.
Have you provided enough clarity, or have you focused on too much technical accuracy and precision? Have you used too many words? And then you also need to think about the third lens, the audience. You've got structure, detail, audience, or if you rearrange it, SAD. So you've got, show, example, pictures, and stories, tell, structure, detail, audience. And that's basically how I've organized in my mind how any explanation can get from start to finish, where that finished product is something that's creating an explanation where understanding is inevitable. And if you don't have an image in your mind and you're trying to learn something new, you don't have anywhere to put that new information. So I always find it helpful when a teacher, an author, an explainer provides their mental map of how they're organizing this information to help the learner slot it into the relevant place in their brain, because they don't already have that mental map. So that's why I've tried to provide that for the readers.
Reading the chapter, what it says on top, chapter 2 summary, show, don't tell. Okay, it's saying we tend to think of explanation as something verbal, a well-worded attempt to transfer knowledge from one person to another. For an example, you said, help the learner recognize a pattern for themselves. The right examples in the right sequence. Let the idea image naturally more abstract. This is what people fail to do. For example, when I go to let's say it's an event or something, or maybe I go to a comedy show, or because I'm expecting to see what this person is talking about, so that I can be excited. You know what I mean? Because, for example, when Kevin Hart give a comment about what happened, he always give an example of his body, body languages, stuff like that. Because that's also in a way of trying to show, you know what I mean? Trying to make somebody understand what he's talking about. But on your book, you talk about more in a way that when I'm talking to you and say, look, today I went to gym. When I went to gym, when I left home, as I was walking out by the gate, I met this lady. We had a conversation walking towards my car. Before I reached into my car, she already started asking me, what do I do? And then at the same time, I was curious, like, why she asked me this question? And I look at her in her eyes and ask her, why do you ask me this question? And what do you do? And while I'm saying this, I'm actually giving someone a picture of what happened so that they can relate and see what's happening and all that. And then I get into my car. As I was driving, imagine I was looking on the view mirror and seeing the lady. She's still staring at me as I'm driving. At some point, I almost bumped into someone who was walking in front of me. So I'm explaining and making you understanding what's happening. At the same time, you are seeing what's happening. So I think there is power in this book, and I love this information that you providing for the world out there. And for a young person who's out there, maybe he's in a village or a college, wherever they are, they may be saying, look, I'm in my last year. I'm doing my final. I want to. I'm confused about what I need to do. What could be your advice for someone who has been studying maybe 5 years in a university or a college, but now they're still confused. They don't know what they're trying to do. They say, I'm just studying because my parents pay for it. What could be your advice to that person who say, I'm not really sure if what I'm studying is something that I want to do?
Two things spring to mind. Well, I can tell you a story about when I left university. I went to become a management consultant and I was advising companies how much they should be paying their bosses and that kind of stuff. And it was so boring. I hated it. And
Right.
it was like,
Right.
the hours weren't amazing. I hated it. I just did it because all my friends were going to London. And then I switched to teaching and I loved it. I knew that I would love it and I did. So I think following what you think you would love is always going to outweigh, what you maybe are told that you should do, or what society governs that maybe you feel you should do, or even like what makes the most money. Do what you love, do what you enjoy. And then the second part of my answer is do something, because actually you learn more by doing something than you would by just speculating and theorizing. Oh, maybe I like this, maybe I like this. Do something. If you don't like it, change.
In a world of limitation, or in a world of like high population, let's say there's a young person out there who say, hey, I've been looking for a job since after my college or my university. It's been really tough to find a job. How did you, or your experience way back then when you started looking for a job after university, was it easy, or what kind of technique did you use to go and look for a job? People really fail to find job. They really don't have a motivation to go and knock door to door. I don't know if that's exactly the same way that you use, but as for me, that's what I did. But for you, how did you find the opportunity way back there?
I think for me, it was on a university careers website. I was looking on there and something caught my eye that I thought I would like. That was the management consultancy job that I then turned out I didn't like. And then when I wanted to move into teaching, actually it was a friend who was a teacher said, hey, I've heard you're looking to get into teaching. There's a great job that's opened up at the school where I'm working. Are you interested? So looking online is, the easiest place to look. But I think if you've got personal connections, people who do different jobs, talk to them, ask them. People are, in my experience, very, very open to helping other people if you ask them.
That's right.
If you say, oh, I want to find out more about what you're doing. Can I come and shadow you for a day or something like that? People are going to say yes. They're going to be like, oh, this person's interested in me. Exactly. I want to help them out. So yeah, being really open with connections that you have, and asking the question, what's the worst that can happen?
The previous show, when I was in Joburg and Kimberley, I talked about the power of volunteering and job shadowing. There's a high potential opportunity for a job seeker to find a job. When you walk into a company and say, sir, I'm looking for a job, this and that. But I know you, when, let's say maybe they say we don't have any open for you and all that, we actually looking to whatever they're trying to do to actually reduce the staff. And I always say, when you have a conversation to somebody and when they try to deny or decline your, whatever your offer or your request, I always say, bring up the conversation of say, look, I'm willing to even just go like a few months without getting paid. I just want to learn. I just want to earn experience. When you giving this kind of be like you opening to someone to say, look, I'm that kind of person. I'm willing to learn. I don't mind even though if you give me something that I don't get paid for. I want to learn. I want to earn experience, because I feel like when you say that to someone who runs a company or manager, that person immediately starts seeing you as a great potential staff because you have a strong motivation, and your motivation is not about money, but it's about learning and growing. So there's a high possibility for you to get opportunities out there.
The more you're open to, the more doors you open. So I think that's completely spot on.
What could be a great approach or great conversation to start with to get attention from someone who's running a company?
I would say be honest, say where you're at, say what you want, and be clear about it.
Right.
Be confident as well, like own it, own what you're saying, own what you're asking, and say
Right.
what's in it for them. Yeah.
Well,
You can say what's in it for you. I'm interested to get this experience because I want to work in this industry. What's in it for them? I'm an incredibly hard worker. And if you give me a 2 week chance, I guarantee you're going to hire me for a full-time job.
this world, many young people out there, they don't really understand the power of, being open and willing to learn. Because what I actually learned from what you said right now is that don't just walk into a company expecting to make money immediately. Have a mindset of saying, look, I'm willing to, what to show you what I can do to benefit your company before you hire me. You understand? So now you showing the boss or the manager what you can do. Now he probably see, oh, okay, this person can be really a beneficial to a company. Could be a great technique to answer in an interview.
Yeah, interviews are tricky because people get nervous, and that's okay.
Right.
But before you speak would be my top tip. It's okay if someone's asked a question to say, that's a great question. I'm just going to think about that for a moment.
Right, no problem.
Okay, now I've got an answer. I've got a thought. I'm going to give that to you now. So that would probably be my top tip. Just take a moment or two to think before jumping into an answer.
That's really a great thing to do. Like you just did right now, as I ask you a question and you did it immediately. Say, give me a second. And I don't think any bosses or any interviewer can have a problem with you when you say, give me a moment to think, because now they already see that you are that kind of person. You don't just want to say things, you want to think, you want to say things that are really meaningful, things that will actually bring a value onto the table. What could be your advice to a young person who are in college or primary school, high school? Maybe they're from poor background and they are trying to do whatever they can. How can they stay motivated in this shifting career landscape?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, I think we talked about goals earlier. Having goals, what do you want to achieve and why do you want to achieve it? I think often people say that, what is your why? What is your why? Like, why do you want to achieve? Is it to provide for yourself, your family? Is it to make a difference? Is it to help other people? Is it to, whatever it is, but really understanding what your why is that's driving you, I think can be a huge motivator.
It's also happened when I wrote my book, The Journey of the Global Change Maker. Remember when I approached my friends who are in the United States, and then I say to him, and they were like, what is this book about? Because for me, I just had this in my mind that I think writing a book, it would be really a great thing. But I didn't really think deep about it, like what's going to happen and all that. But until I realized that why I want to write a book, like you say, it's about the why that you have. When you have the why, you are able to do something. So when I made the decision, I just immediately reflect back to my life when I was in the village as a young boy. My memory of life in the village, vivid and enduring, growing up in a place where success felt distant and the challenges were constantly reality. Where I grew up is that there was so much of limitation and there's a high possibility of young people out there not to make it, because people who live in a village, you are always being taught that, or being like, people tell you that, look, who do you think you are? One thing I've always been in my mind was that, look, I've been seeing my mom struggling from when I was 2 years, when I started to realize what life was. She did everything she could, working for people, asking people, what can I do to help you so you can help me to be able to feed my kids and all that? It could be washing clothes for someone, or it could be working a farm for someone. She has always been doing anything. And then from me, the motivation I always heard back then was that I want to make a difference to where I come from. What could be your motivation to a young person who say, look, I have a dream, but I'm actually lacking. I don't have, let's say they don't have, there's no opportunities. I have a dream. I want to achieve it. I want to achieve something, but there's no opportunities. I'm far from opportunities. And where I live, I don't have access to internet. I don't have access to opportunities. And I'm oftenly being told that it's not easy to make it and there's a consequence to make. What could be your advice to that young person, young girl, and young boy?
It's tough. I can't. Yeah, I can't say I'd be giving advice from a place of experience because I had a very fortunate upbringing and yeah, was
What?
very lucky.
Yeah.
I think we talked about role models as a source of inspiration. If you've seen someone who's made it from really challenging circumstances, there are loads of people who have had great success from really challenging circumstances. So, drawing inspiration from that, I can suggest,
Right.
and trying to adopt the identity inside of you of what it is that you want to be before you are that thing. If you want to be an
Right.
engineer, just say, I'm an engineer. I'm just going to do what
Right.
engineers do.
Right.
And then actually, the identity shift
Right.
leads into all sorts of other parts of your life that just snowballs and can get you moving in the right direction.
My first year in high school, second term, it was really a drought year in Zimbabwe, and it was really tough because what I looked around and I noticed that there is really nothing. My mom, she's trying her best. There's no way she can be able to feed all of us, you know? Imagine you're in high school. It's your first year in high school. Your friends, they are going to school. And then I decided, you know what? I'm dropping out. I'm going to work in a farm for someone to look after their cows and all that. For me, I was that kind of person. I don't know if I can say it was God, but I'll say yes, God was actually guiding me and also learning from people. Probably was 14, 15, somewhere there, 14 years old or 15 years old. You can just imagine that. I remember every day I'll be going to the farm from the morning until maybe 6 p.m. When I get home, what I used to do, I remember I used to go to my friend's house, and this guy, we used to be in the same class. I'll go to his house and say, look, bro, what did you learn today? And he would start telling me and he'd give me his notes and stuff like that. I remember I used to write down and all that. Being at school or not, I didn't stop learning. I keep reaching out to those who had access to education, you understand? Because I knew that education was a key to my success. Was education was a key for me to open doors for me. So I'm just trying to say that for a young person out there, you could be in London, UK, it could be anywhere in the world. If you're unable to go to school or something, but if you have friends that they are still going to school, it could be a financial problem in your family, but you still have friends that you can still reach out to and they are willing to help you. I think that's one of the things that really helped me out, and it was not really an easy thing to do because I think I did it for like about 8 months. I had to work and just do like a part-time studying, asking my friends and all that. So with all this, it was something that I learned that when you have a motivation, when you have a role models that you're looking up to and say, look, I think Barack Obama, how he did it. It's an amazing thing. I would like to follow his footsteps. And I've seen how Queen Elizabeth did. Actually, she was really an amazing. That her story really motivates me because when you have that, actually, I feel like that's one of the key that really motivates people to want to work, to want to do more. What do you think about the power of networking?
I've always thought of networking as a sort of cheesy word that I don't like the sound of it. It sounds like, posh businessmen in suits chatting to each other, chatting rubbish. But I think what I've come to learn is that it's just about being open, making connections with people, making new friends. And when an opportunity comes along, taking it. Or if someone has a skill set or works in an industry that's interesting to you or could be helpful for you, asking for that help. But yeah, being open, making connections and asking for help. And I think that can lead to huge results. That's what's led to a couple of the recent courses that I've created. It's just like friends of friends who then all of a sudden there's a connection there. I'm like, I'm just going to ask the question and see what happens.
Sometimes we think what I've started could help me to get an opportunity, but if you don't know anybody, I feel like it's hard for you to get opportunity.
The ability to explain. It's the ability to communicate with clarity. If you can do that, then other people will understand you. And if they understand you, they'll believe you.
anything that you want to say to someone who might be watching this video, what they can maybe learn from this video, any advice to people out there, young boys or young girls?
I think the key takeaway for me is the power of communication. If you can communicate clearly in a way that people understand effortlessly, then that allows them to be moved by your words and take action. So don't underestimate the power of clear communication.
James, my brother, I really appreciate you, and thank you so much for your time. I think this really means a lot to me and to you as well. And like I said, that we get to do one-on-one, face-to-face, where we can get to actually share powerful insights from both books, your book and my book. I really appreciate it. And my brother, stay blessed. I look forward to see you soon.